Idle hands are the devil's playground, we would often say. In other words, we needed to keep busy, or Satan would tempt us into doing bad stuff. In the church, everyone was supposed to keep very busy. At the expense of his or her family, a full-time pastor was expected to work upwards of 80 hours per week. The church members were also expected to spend most of their time at the church doing God's work. While this was the expectation, ultimately 80% of the work was done by 20% of the people. So in today's video, we are discussing the reality of toxic productivity. Hi, I'm Garth Oxner, former worship leader. I'm now an agnostic atheist and I'm your host of Faith Challenged. As a Christian, I believed that I was called to serve. What I wanted really didn't matter at all. I just wanted to serve God in any way that I could, and I wanted to please Him. That was my goal. I didn't care about things like preparing for retirement or building long-term stability because I believed my focus should be entirely on serving God and preparing for eternity. Looking back, I am thankful that there were periods in my life when I was not completely consumed by Christianity. That said, Christianity engulfed enough of my life to the point where I studied the Bible and obtained a Master of Divinity degree in hopes of working in Christian ministry full time. That cost me and my family a great deal of money. It cost me a great deal of my time. I feel that I could have been more productive if I were not trying to serve a God who did not exist. As I have said in many of my videos, I don't believe in regrets. Life is all about learning from your mistakes and trying not to repeat them going forward. It would not be helpful for me to view my life as a waste. It is not regret, but rather reality and honesty when I say that I wish that I had not fallen for the lie of Christianity, but I did, and I cannot go back and change that. Even though Christianity is false and man-made, to this day I still love discussing theology and faith. Obtaining my MDiv has given me the credibility to discuss the topic with some degree of authority. While people are leaving their faith in record numbers, religion and faith are still an important part of society. Most people still have faith in something or someone. While I was studying for the ministry, I often felt like I wasn't good enough. My grades were okay, but nothing to brag about. During the last several years of my MDiv, I held a B average or so. They were okay, not great. While I was a student at Acadia, I began dating a lady whom I had known for several years prior to us seeing each other romantically. Our relationship was sexual. I guess the guilt got to her, and she ended up telling one of the pastors of the church where I was attending, as well as the church that was supervising me as I studied theology. Needless to say, this pissed me off to no end, and I felt betrayed. This, of course, did not make me look good in the least as well. As my health was never great, I was not as dependable as I would have liked and not as dependable as people expected me to be. Although I graduated from Acadia Divinity College with an MDiv, I didn't pass what was called the Board of Ministerial Standards. At the time, the Board of Ministerial Standards was the last step before beginning the process of becoming an ordained minister. After graduation, I never considered going before the Board of Ministerial Standards a second time. Honestly, I don't even remember if that was an option. A little over a year after graduation, I became very ill as my kidneys failed and I required kidney dialysis. If I felt like I wasn't good enough before, then facing yet another major health issue only deepened that feeling of inadequacy. Being a Christian is all about serving God by giving Him at least 10% of our money and most of our free time. If we were not doing this, the church would often make us feel like trash. The church is all about shame and guilt. When you are made to feel like you aren't if you aren't doing enough or giving enough, one of two things will happen. You will either leave the church or you will dig in and give even more of your time and money, even if this means going into debt and giving more than you can afford to the church. I never fell into the trap of giving 10% of my money to the church. Part of the reason for this is that I really never had it to give. I did, however, spend a great deal of my time working for the church for free. Sometimes I was paid, but mostly I gave of my time because I wanted to give back to the church. In fairness, I never felt pressured by any of the churches where I attended to give of my time and of my money. The scripture, as I read it, demanded a tithe of at least 10% be given back to God. I understood God to be the church. Basically, people are expected to give to the church, and the church uses our offerings to build God's kingdom here on earth. I also held the view that God had given each of us gifts and talents for ministry. Because of this belief, I felt that we were expected to be available to use our gifts whenever they were needed. Whether the request came from the church, ministry leadership, or others around us, there was often an unspoken expectation that we must say yes. In my case, the church didn't pressure me to give of my time. I pressured myself based on my interpretation of Scripture to always be willing to share my talents and my abilities with others. I have been abused by people in the name of Christianity, sure. However, compared to many, I have been very, very fortunate. In some of the documentaries that I have watched, there was a catchphrase that overworked church volunteers would often recite. That phrase was, "I can't believe we get to do this." This phrase was and is a brainwashing, manipulative tool used to keep volunteers volunteering week after week after week. I can't believe we get to do this. Were you or are you one of those volunteers who said that phrase? Again, I can't believe we get to do this. Some of us pressured ourselves into giving everything we had to the church. Many more people were and still are pressured by the church to give until it hurts. This is toxic productivity. Thank you for watching this video. If you found this content to be helpful, please like this video and subscribe to Faith Challenged. Please comment and let me know where you are from, where you are at with your faith, and what you thought of today's video. Until next time, I'm Garth Oxner, host of Faith Challenged, reminding you to always think critically.